Ready? I'm an alcoholic. My name's Tony Smith. My sobriety date is February 26th of 1990. I'm a member of the Willow Springs 12-step group. We meet in Fuquay. On Thursday night we have an open meeting tonight, and then on Sunday we have a literature study with a beginners meeting going on at the same time. Good group of Alcoholics Anonymous. I've been a member there for a right good while now. My job tonight is to tell y'all in a general way what I used to be like, what happened, and what I'm like now. I'm going to try to do that and do it in a timely manner and try not to stay drunk the whole time. I know it's important for y'all for me to qualify, because if I don't qualify, I can tell you about concepts and steps and all kind of stuff, but it ain't going to attach to nothing if you don't realize, that's what makes this thing work. It's one alcoholic talking to another one. I was born and raised in Angier. Back in the 60s when I was going to school there was a town of 3,000. I guarantee it's not 3,000 anymore. I didn't think I'd ever get through there this morning. Those roads just won't hold all these new houses they built. But anyway, it's a different ball game than it was a long time ago. Started first grade there and graduated in 1975. 30 people in the graduating class. I think they were all just as nervous as I was. I had to run out to the car and get a bottle of AAA and get me a big pull off of it. So we're all out there in our purple cap and gowns, sucking on a bottle of AAA. And when we were walking down the aisles, there was two lines going down, and you could tell the ones that had been out to my car. We were kind of wobbly. But the women in my family were all real religious, and like Grandpa, he was a bad drunk, and on my mother's side, it was the same thing. My granddaddy Theatres, he was pretty bad drunk, but they loved us, and we just didn't talk a lot about what they did. I remember being a little boy, and Grandpa, he was kind of grumpy. He'd be watching wrestling and smoking them Camel cigarettes, and he'd get up and go in the kitchen, and he'd pull that curtain back and go back there, and I'd hear that jar unscrew, and he'd get him a pull off on that jug of moonshine, a jar of moonshine. He'd go, woo! He come sit back down, and he was a different person. He changed. He's like, sit on my knee, and he give me a shiny quarter or 50-cent piece. I said, I don't know what that stuff is, but it's working for me. But Grandma drilled it into us, them and them Baptist preachers. If you drink whiskey and liquor, beer, you're gonna burn in hell. I promised Grandma I'd never do that. And I guess when it come my time, I couldn't hardly wait. I can remember being a young boy when we'd go camping, and we would drink grape juice and pretend we was drinking wine. Later on, we figured out that some of those farmers around there had a refrigerator on the back porch, and it was full of beer. And we'd get us some beer and take it. Boy, we really would have a time then. I really wasn't too crazy about the taste of beer. But after you get a couple of them down, it's pretty good stuff. I don't know, I didn't get in any trouble about any of that stuff. I was probably 15 when I got my first real buzz. A friend of mine made some PJ. Well, I didn't know what it was. It looked like Kool-Aid to me. And he poured me a big cup full of it. He said, drink it slow. He said, because you're probably going to feel it. And it wasn't long. I don't remember, I passed out or whatever. But I remember before I passed out, I remember James Ray come tearing down through town on that Norton 750. And I said, man, I want to get me one of them motorcycles. And then here come the cheerleaders that were going to the ball game and all, riding in the convertible. I'm going to throw me one of them cheerleaders on the bike. I'm going to show this town a thing or two. Well, when I come to, I had fruit and all kind of red stuff on the front of my shirt. And here come the Barney Fife of that time. Mr. Spencer come out there. He come pulling up with the blue lights. I looked around and wasn't nobody there but me. And I said, must be time for me to leave. And he was running, chasing me through the cornfields with old heavy 38. He was breathing real hard. And I felt bad for him, but I didn't feel bad enough to stop. But I was running through that cornfield. And next morning, my dad come into my bedroom and smelled on me. He said, clean up and come on get some breakfast. I said, okay. Mama had fried up some country sausage and some of those eggs over easy, looked like they were sliding around on the plate. I thought, oh my God, I can't eat any of this. I was in bad shape. You know, but I don't remember saying, I feel terrible. I don't think I'll ever do that again. I just couldn't wait to do it again. Now, I didn't become a daily drinker at 15, but I drank anytime I could. My parents wanted me to be the first member of the family to go to college, and so they had me on a college track in high school and I was doing pretty good until I started drinking. And then it became paramount to be able to party more than it did to do well in school or sports or any of that stuff. Of course, that was fine. My dad, he had a car garage. They did body work, chassis work. They could do about anything to an automobile. But I'd get out of school and I'd go to the shop, and that's what I did. I sanded fenders and masked cars and anything they needed me to do. And so I hung out there, which came in good when I turned 16 because all these other guys, I got my license before any of the other guys in my high school class. And my dad gave me a 1964 Biscayne Chevrolet with a six-cylinder. I mean, it was a tank, and but you know, it was something to ride around with. So I was popular for a little while. To all them other guys, their parents bought them the 442s and the Chevelles and the cars that get the girls and all, you know. But anyway, they wanted something done to their car. They'd take it to my dad's shop, and I was their entrance into putting a cam in it. And then he'd tell them, said, well, if I put a cam in it, we need to beef up your transmission rear end. No, Mr. Bobby, I just want a cam in it. They'd tear the clutch out of it. They put the heavy-duty clutch in there. Then they'd ring the rear end, just like he said it would happen, you know. But anyway, nothing really happened much. I mean, I just do just enough to get by and get out of high school. At age of 17, they had a bluegrass festival in Angier. Me and a bottle of tequila got together, and I wound up getting a DUI. And my dad came down to the Littleton jail to get me out. And he looked in there, he said, you don't belong in there. I said, I sure don't. But anyway, I lost my license, and I remember going to the prom. I went by to pick up my girlfriend, no driver's license, and I had on my prom clothes. Went in there to take pictures, and Teresa's mom said, "Where are your shoes at?" I said, "I'll put them on when we go." And but I was already into a bottle of Southern Comfort. That was what she liked to drink. And anyway, went to the prom, got in a terrible fight, got pictures made at the team, broke up, and you know, that's usually my drinking would start out with all these things about we're gonna have a wonderful night. And it didn't never turn out. It got worse every time. Graduated in high school, and nearly all my friends, they went to college and loaded up and went to the beach after graduation. I woke up at the Tasty Freeze with my head on the pavement, my feet on the dash, passed out. Where'd everybody go? Got a job building farm equipment and worked with that man for several years. And he's really good to me. He taught me how to weld and how to operate equipment, all kinds of stuff. Being raised around, had all them uncles and all that had farms. So I worked on the farms, so I knew how to drive tractors and back trailers and work on stuff I worked on at my dad's garage. So I was pretty handy. And anyway, that man hated he ever hired me. I mean, I was out getting tore up, and then Monday morning I'd borrow money from him to buy cigarettes and get through the week. And finally I had to get a credit at the beer store so I could afford to drink during the week. And then I was like, I can't believe I drank that much this week. Anyway, he stuck it out with me, and I managed to get another couple of DUIs within 3 years. So instead of welding, I wound up painting the equipment, and that's the way it was wherever I worked at. I'd get promoted, and then I'd get a DUI, and they'd put me back at the bottom. And then I get my license back, and I get promoted, and then I get another DUI, getting in car wrecks. I remember my friends used to, once in a while say, well, you're going to be the designated driver now. I said, well, that's fine. And so while BB was taking a shower, I'd hit that decanter of George Dickel White Label a couple of times. I said, well, I'm just going to drink one beer before we go. And he said, that'll be fine. Get everybody, and we'd load up and go to the club and hear some bands. And I was just angry because they were having a good time and I wasn't drinking. I was mad. They said, why don't you just drink one beer? And by the end of the night, I was so drunk that I couldn't be the designated driver. I was in several serious car wrecks. One of them was in 1984, 85. I run off the road and run a 78 Fiat down a 40-foot cliff and hit a forking maple tree. And Wallace used to like this story. Somehow or another, I'd climbed out of that ravine. I'd heard several stories. One said I went to somebody's house and just a bloody pup, and they'd like, get off my porch. I don't know. I don't remember a whole lot about the night. I remember drinking Old Forester with them guys that worked at the fire plant and eating hot wings. And then I left there and went to the bootleg joint and got pretty torqued up there on moonshine. And but anyway, I was climbed up out of that ravine. My head had hit the radio. Back then they had these big knobs on the radios. My head went right in between those things. There's like two stobs coming out. One of them hit me in the eye, the side of my eye, and broke the orbital bone. The gear shifted went all the way through my knee, and so I'm on all fours beside the road. And what the story was, there was an Indian preacher that stopped by and said, can I get you some help? I said, that'd be appreciated. Next time I know, here comes the crash truck backing up, all them lights and everything. They said, would you go with us? I said, yeah, but I'm gonna need a little help. And so they took me to Rex, but Rex didn't like my insurance, so they had to cart me over to Wake Med, old Wake Memorial. I never have liked Rex Hospital since then. But anyway, they would come in there, and they had a nurse standing behind me holding my head, and they said, don't move your head or a piece of that bone could go into your brain and kill you. I said, okay. And my parents come in there just to squall, and they said my head was like big as a pumpkin. And I had two friends of mine, Charlotte and her friend, came in, and they came in there, and I'm chatting it up with that girl, and hey, maybe we get together sometime. I mean, it was just like a cowboy, get thrown off the bull or something. Well, I'm busted up, but I ain't through, I'll be back. And I just didn't have any idea how bad a shape I was, but they had to bring pictures to the hospital, and had to go through a bunch of surgeries. And the sad thing about the whole thing, when I got home, I went to stay with my parents. My dad said, you want to get out of the house, don't you? I said, I sure do. I'm tired of sitting around watching soap operas and stuff. I said, I am bored to death. And my leg was all, they had done surgery on my leg. I had a cast on my leg. I had buttons on the side of my head. They had run wires down, attached them to my teeth to hold my skull in place until it healed. And anyway, he said, just take that 69 LeSabre. He said, throw your right leg over there in the passenger side and take your left leg and drive. And said, just go out and go wherever you want to go. I went right back to the same place I got drunk at. And then when I went to the store and told them, said, my bill paid up? They said, yes, sir. I said, well, let me get a case of beer. They said, oh, we don't want to sell you no beer. I said, why? I said, well, they got a law, if you serve somebody and they get in trouble, we can be. I said, oh, I love y'all. I'm not going to sue nobody. I was back doing the same thing at the same spot, and I come home drunk as a skunk, and you imagine how proud my parents were. Doing the same thing over and over again. Once I started drinking, I never knew what was going to happen next. And there weren't many things that I wouldn't drink. I remember one time I got sick as a kid on cold duck and got the dry heaves. I never drank any more cold duck, but I found a whole lot of other stuff I could drink. I was arrested in '85 when they changed the law from DUI to the DWI. I remember my brother going with me to court. Man, it was like Perry Mason. I was sitting there at the table with my attorney, and then the DA was this little blonde-haired girl. She wanted to make a name for herself. And I always seemed to be lucky about finding attorneys. And so I wound up with the governor's attorney, Mr. Spencer Barrow. Spencer Barrow was one of the two defense attorneys that was on the panel that wrote the DWI law. And so he was talking about, this is unfair and that's unfair. But, well, Mr. Barrow, why didn't you do something about it? He said, how much say those two defense guys going to have against the rest of y'all? Anyway, they went back in the back room, had a meeting about me, and came back. And I don't know how I didn't go to prison that time. But anyway, I got a serious fine, and repeated drunk driver offender thing and all kind of stuff. But anyway, and I got some mud on the arresting officer, he had popped a buddy of mine in the nose, and he had a lawsuit against him. He got my nose over in Lillington one time. He had the handcuffs when he was taking me into state trooper's office, and he banged my head on them bricks, put a long bark down my nose. And anyway, he got the word that they were going to get me for a witness. I said, look, if you'll just sign this paper right here so I can get my license. And they said, oh yeah, I'll do all that. He's a fine guy and all this other stuff. And I went up there for that hearing officer. She looked like a school teacher with silver rimmed glasses. And she's like, I know you're going to drink again, drink and drive again. Said, but all this stuff I got before me, I'm going to have to give you your license back. And so I was able to get my license back and drive, like just during daylight hours or whatever. But I left that place hitchhiking home, and some girls picked me up, and we wound up going out and partying after I just went through all that stuff. I know my boss was proud of me. He thought I was coming back to work. But I managed to be arrested 12 times for drunk driving. I have 5 convictions on my record. It would have been 6, but Judge Morgan, I had tried all these lawyers and everything, so I decided to try a politician one time. So I got Mr. Adams over in Angier. He had some pull. He went and talked to the judge, so I got in the pickup with him, and he carried me over to the judge's house. He stopped at the liquor store and got a bottle, and he wrapped that bottle up like that, and I said, I don't know what I was. He said, don't get out of the car. I said, he's got some big dogs. They will eat you. And he went and talked to the judge. He come back and told me what to say. Plead no contest to the marijuana charge and something else to the DUI and all that. And so anyway, when I went to court that day, they said, how do you plead guilty or not guilty? I said, I plead no contest, and da-da-da. And he said, that ain't what I asked you. So I said it again. And he said, that's not what I asked you. And the judge said, I think I heard him write it down. So anyway, I got out of that. I'd lost my license, but he put me under some kind of special deal that if I didn't get in trouble within a year, that they would expunge that from my record. So I didn't get in trouble for a year. But I tell you what, I was nervous when I walked out on the court steps. I thought, because he had said that Tony gave information to aid in the arrest of a bank robber. And I thought, there might be a bank robber out there since I had something to do with him. I was afraid I'd walk out on them steps and somebody's going to clip me. Anyway, I just kept doing the same thing over and over and over again. Just seemed like my lot in life was going to be try to be a good boy for a while, and then I'd go to drinking, and then the drinking get out of control, and I'd get a DUI, and I'd walk or do whatever I had to do, get whatever I had to, just so I didn't go to prison. And it seemed like that was just, I thought I was just stuck there. I was like on a guinea pig on a hamster on that damn thing going round and round. So in 1990, I had got another DUI. This time while I was driving with the daylight driving privilege, so I was already in trouble. Not supposed to be not supposed to be driving at all except during daylight hours, and absolutely not even with a beer in the car. And I went to a bootleg joint and got just tore slam up. And an 18-year-old boy that played football with Fuquay High School. He was a nice guy. Anyway, he was doing a little drinking, and we got out there wrestling in the moonlight about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, he was a huge boy. Anyway, he wanted to ride home. I said, well, get in the car. We rode to Fuquay. This is back when, who was it? OJ, when they had that slow chase and all about OJ. This is the same time. So I had my own slow chase. When I got to Fuquay, the cops started following me. And I just drive around. I wouldn't let them pass me. I just kept going around in circles and going around. And of course, you know, they finally blocked me off. And they were scared of that big black boy. He's a pretty good sized boy. But those white Fuquay police pulled him out and they beat him to a pulp, busted a couple of ribs. And the only thing he did wrong that night was get in the car with Tony. Said, we're gonna have any problem with you? I said, no, sir. Anyway, this is what Steve Mitchell says. Well, what happened, I went in to blow the breathalyzer. I said, well, I don't know if I want to blow the breathalyzer. Well, make up your mind. So I called Spencer Barrow, the big time lawyer, and got his wife, and she remembered me. I worked at a place that made basketball goals, like for NC State and different other ones. But I got him one for his kid. Anyway, long story short. Anyway, I talked to his wife. She said, hey, Tony, what's going on? I said, she said, Tony, you ain't got another one of them tickets. I said, yeah. I said, I don't know if I ought to blow the breathalyzer or not. She said, well, you sound okay to me. I said, I think it'll be all right. I said, Spencer's out fishing for blue marlin. Said he won't be back till next week. And so I said, okay, I'll blow the breathalyzer. I signed it. Blew a 26. And they said, there's something wrong with this machine. He said, there's no possible way you're sitting there walking, talking, and all that, and you just blew a 26 on the breathalyzer. So they calibrated the thing, give it to me again. I blew another 26. Oh, something's not right. So they did it again. I said, well, it must be a 26. But when I told Steve about that, Steve said, that's alcoholism. A normal person consumes that much alcohol, they probably have alcohol poisoning. They would be in desperate straits. But I'm just drinking all the time. Anyway, it just got worse and worse. And then 1990, I was arrested, and it was bad. They tried me as a habitual offender, did a little investigating. Habitual drunk driving in North Carolina carries a sentence of 8 years. And so I went and talked to Judge Redwine. He was in private practice at that time. And I went and talked to him. He said it'd be $2,400. There ain't nobody gonna let me borrow $2,400. Ain't nobody. My damn parents ain't gonna let me borrow. I got to come up with that money. And I wound up going into my 401k. I had to give me stock certificates, then I had to sell stocks, and it was crazy. But anyway, wound up going to treatment, and I came back and went to court in Fuquay, and everybody's like standing behind this rail. And when he walked in, he was a dude now, he walked into that courtroom, the judge said, hey, how you doing? And he said, where's Tony Smith? I said, here I am. He come over there. Well, I done been off the treatment for 30 days. Been taking them vitamins and eating right. My parents had to bring me some more breeches because I couldn't button up the ones I had. They were too tight. And he said, you're not Tony Smith. I said, oh yeah, I am. I said, I'm the one that wrote you that check, $2,400. He said, come on back to my office. And we went to the bathroom, and he told me what was going to happen. He said, don't say anything. So anyway, they changed that 8 years under the Fair Sentencing Act of 4 years. And then I was put on intensive probation for 5 years. Ridiculous fine, and lost my license permanently again. And I thought, man, things are going good. Hey, Mr. Lawyer man, I said, ask him about getting my driver's license. He took his elbow, you know, like them cops take them sticks and catch it up, and he took my breath. But anyway, I had to do some weekends in jail. And I'd be in there, I'd done joined up with AA, I'd be in there and trying to 12-step people in jail, showing them my white chip, and they didn't care. So I spent all these years trying to stay out of prison. I get in this group in Lillington, and there was a bunch in there that were going into prison. I said, come on. I said, where are we going? He said, we're going to prison. I said, I ain't going. And he said, oh yeah, you'll be fine. I said, I don't even have an ID. They're not going to let me in. Oh, they'll let you in. So I go in there, and those guys are shaking my hand, saying, I'm so glad you came tonight. And then before I left, they shook my hand and said, I hope you come back. Well, I just felt terrible about the way my life had turned. I didn't feel like anybody going to have anything to do with me. But I found one place that I fit in within there with them convicts. I felt comfortable in there. And anyway, I told them, I said, well, I'm not going to be able to get a card. So they did a little clerical work on my forms and all. Next thing you know, I got a blue card. And I'm going in their prison every week. And there's a whole bunch of guys going in there at a time. And then after a year or two, it was just me. I'm riding a moped. So I'm riding up there on the moped. I get out and get my big book, and I'm walking up to the gate, going to save all these guys. They probably saved my life. But we go in there, and I'm doing 1, 2, 3. And a sponsor, I told him one night, I said, I don't want to go to my home group. He said, why? I said, I know what they're all going to say. I said, it's just a waste of my time. And he said, you need to write your 4th step. I said, what's that got to do with anything? He said, you're on a dry drunk, you need to write your 4th step. So I went home and wrote my 4th step. It wasn't anything about Mrs. Brown or any of that stuff. It was just a tortured man. I wrote, the stuff that I felt guilty about, people that I thought had wronged me. Anything. I've been toting that stuff around for years and years and years, but it was amazing what that did for me. And then I went to my sponsor and says, Earl, he said, what is it? I said, I want you to listen to my 5th step. Well, this guy had been hauling me around for 3 years, and any crazy thought that went through my head, I'd run it by Earl. He said, Tony, it made me real nervous to listen to your 5th step. So anyway, this is about the time the Willow Springs group got cranked up, and I joined that group and got a sponsor in that group who was well versed in the big book, and we went to the big book a page at a time. We got the 3rd step. We went upstairs and knelt, did the 3rd step prayer together. I did a much thorough 4th step this time. I had got to the place that I was tired of being a phony. I mean, I'm the guy standing at the door, come on in, it don't get nothing but butter, but I was just dying. I mean, I'm just dying. I don't know why. I'm not happy, joyous, and free like everybody else is. But I was just a phony. And so what I did after doing that 4th step, I realized that, I just need to go ahead and everybody else does this stuff. I said, I've waited 4 years and I'm miserable. So we went at it and did the fifth step. And he said, well, what do you think? I said, I hate I waited this long to do it. The same time, there was 2 guys in prison. Well, they didn't have anybody to sponsor them, so they sponsored each other. And I sponsored them. I'd get there like a half hour early, and I'd work with them the best I could. But you know, they had the same experience I did. They exchanged fifth steps, and they had the same experience I did. They got free inside of a minimum security prison. Those guys never could understand how I could walk through the grocery aisle and all that beer, or ride by the liquor store and not get drunk. And I never understood why they could, how they could stay sober with all that stuff going on. I mean, you don't know if the officers want to just crack you over the head for no reason or what. There's all these confrontations going on. So it took probably more of a man to get sober in that environment. It's never dark, it's never quiet. But they got free. And then they started sponsoring other guys. But we modeled that meeting after my own group. And I remember Jerry was going in there with us, and they'd say, well, we can't get a speaker in this week. Well, why not? I said, we didn't need more time. We lined up speakers for 9 months ahead of time. They said, whoa, that's enough. But we got speakers just like we got speakers for for my home group. And I watched some of them guys come in, they just mad at the whole world. And you just keep shaking their hands. I'm glad you're here. And eventually, it took a little bit, but if you could get them to chair the meeting, they started taking a part in that meeting. It was like it was theirs. And then, I mean, their life, they get a sponsor and they got to start working steps. Next thing you know, they're a peer counselor somewhere and they're getting out of prison. And then I go to the corrections conference and they're there and they're married and got a good job. The kids like them again. It's just amazing. So I started going over to Hornet in 1990, and then right on up until COVID, I was going in there. In fact, when the last corrections conference meeting we had, I got word that they were going to let me back in April the 19th. So I figured, well, I'll get out of this, because they didn't even want us to have that because the COVID was getting started. But who knows, we just didn't know what was going to happen. So anyway, I haven't been able to get back in over there. I'm looking forward to it. I do whatever I'm asked to do. I was elected GSR. This will be my last year, but nobody wanted to stand for GSR. I was like, why not? And I've done it before. I don't want to go do my old meetings. And I tell you what, it's just been a blast. Things have changed. I mean, I used to go with my pad and everything right now. I go there and everybody's got iPads and iPhones and zooming on the walls and all kind of stuff, and I just kind of roll with it, But I met some of the greatest people. I mean, they're really involved in service. And then I see them at other places. And I don't want to go over, but I'll tell this. My friend Earl over at Wilson Primary Purpose Group, he called me and said, I need you to speak Thursday night. I said, oh no, Bill Crawford's speaking. It's your anniversary. I said, we've been passing out the flyers. Bill Crawford's speaking. He said, no, Bill can't come. They've had that hurricane and he don't want to drive through that rain. He don't feel comfortable. He said, "You're the speaker." I said, "Everybody's expecting Bill Crawford." So I called my sponsor, John. "Yeah, what is it, Tony?" I said, "Earl wants me to speak." I said, "They're supposed to have Bill Crawford. Who do you think gave him your phone number?" He said, "Just go do the deal." He said, "You're going to love it." Said, "They got, who is it, that place in Parker's Barbecue. I mean, the food was off the hook. It was, even in a minor hurricane, it was really well attended. And I just do what I do. We went back before the meeting and held hands and said a prayer, and went out there and I told my story. I made so many friends over the years, and I'm so thankful. You know, they tell you when you get here to stick with the winners. I think they sought me out. I know Wallace, early on, I'd started going to the prison, and Wallace says, "They got a prison workshop in Shelby." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You want to go?" I said, "I ride a moped. I'm not going to Shelby." He said, "I'm going to come get you." So anyway, I'm probably 2 years sober or less, but I'm just start raving sober. Here comes that big white Cadillac in the driveway, and I piled up in that baby. And we go back to Lillington, get on 421, and start heading west. And I said, "Mr. Wallace," he says, "What is it, Tony?" I said, "I figured out why I'm an alcoholic." Now, he's doing about 63 miles an hour, and that Cadillac, all of a sudden, he locks her down, baby. Off the road. And he looks at me, and he said, "You just be damn glad that you know you're an alcoholic and there is a solution." He said, "Don't be trying to figure out any of that. That has no value." He said, you just do what's in front of you, and everything will be all right." I didn't know if he was going to throw me out or what. But evidently it was all right then, and we rode on to Shelby and done that deal. But I was a part of the corrections conference when they first started. Tom used to say we were, I forgot how he put it. It probably wouldn't be able to say that in this thing. But anyway, we were outside the AA umbrella. We were just a gang of drunks that were going into the prison, and we met in Asheboro and had a speaker and a bunch of little workshops and all. And that's how this corrections thing got started. I remember one of the speakers, he'd come from Denver, and there's probably 150 people in this little Baptist thing that they had down there. I went in the bathroom for the speaker meeting. There's this guy, got a coat and tie on. I said, "You must be the speaker." He said, "Why would you say that?" I said, "Well, you got a coat and tie on. Nobody else does. I just figured you might be the speaker." He had a clip-on tie. He pulled it off. He said, "Am I the speaker now?" I didn't know what the hell to say. And then after the meeting, Alberta and a bunch of the other old-timers, they were taking pictures. And she said, "Come on, Tony." I said, "No, come on." So they got me all hugged up, taking pictures, you know, making you feel a part of. That was just unbelievable. But I'm so thankful that the winners stuck with me, and they taught me the right way to do things. And I'm grateful that they taught me about traditions. And I know one time I told my sponsor, of course he shot me down pretty quick, I said, "You know, traditions are not good for the newcomer. They ain't got any clue what's going on." He said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "It's all about the newcomer. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. Who's the boss? We don't have any bosses. You try to tell the alcoholic something, they ain't gonna listen to you. But you know, we can show them through our example, and our leader is our higher power. How much does it cost? It doesn't cost you anything. When you get sober and you get responsible, you want to be a part of, you know, put some money in the hat. If you don't have the money, go move some chairs. There's a way to do something, you know. But yeah, the traditions are good for the new people as much as they are for us. And I know a lot of times I get in some kind of booger at work. How am I going to handle this? Most of the times I say, you know, let's think about this in terms of common welfare. It's so easy. Everything works out. I didn't intend on staying sober this long. But you know, once you start going and getting in this AA thing, you don't want to leave. No matter what's going on, I mean, I go to a meeting, I feel better. Sometimes I have been to some meetings, I felt worse after I went to them, Dave, but some meetings are off track. I've got some issues with my home group now. We've changed the speaker meeting to one speaker meeting a month, and then open discussion. And I mean, once in a while it's a good meeting. The other times you don't know what you're gonna get. And then they don't call on nobody. They just sit there and say, why don't he call on somebody? And then some new guys pops up and they start running off in the mouth, and I'm like, oh Lord. And I just start praying, and finally it starts getting turned around right. But I mean, that's just a cluster. But I'm gonna see if I can't bring that up on the agenda for the next business meeting. But anyway, you know, I'm just one drunk, and I try to carry the message the best of my ability, and I'm just so grateful to be sober. Thank you.